Here we are. It's another amazing installment of AM Exclusive. We bring you those exclusive interviews with all those people you'd love to hear from. And today we have another banger, another good one. We're going to be engaging the European Union, especially the European Union in Ghana, or the Commission in Ghana. And we have joining the conversation today His Excellency Irchad Razaaly, the EU Ambassador to Ghana. He's taken time to sit with us today. And, well, let's get right down to it.
How are you doing?
Bonjour.
Ça va?
Sabouche. Good to have you join the conversation. I'm going to start on a bit of an unorthodox note. You're 3 years in Ghana.
Almost.
What's the experience been like?
It's been an amazing experience. Getting to know better the country, getting to not understanding, because it will be a lack of humility, but trying to dig deeper in the way the Ghana as a country and as a nation works. And, the journey is amazing because it's so rich, so many layers, so many dynamism. So every day you learn something.
What do you find the most interesting about Ghana?
The most interesting is what you get on Ghana from the outside and what you discover Ghana when you are staying in the country. And there are many things that are not exactly what you believe.
Right.
But on both ways, some you say you're a bit surprised, and some you say, aha, as you say here, aha. So nice.
So, of course, sometimes outside of Ghana, you hear certain things. Oh, this is what Ghana is like. But here, it's not exactly the same thing.
But I think it's a fact of life. It's true for everything. But getting to live in Ghana gives you a better access, a better in-depth understanding, and you get to be interested to crack the layers. Okay.
Before we get into EU month, my final probing question. What's your favorite Ghanaian food?
Still palava sauce.
Palava sauce?
Yes.
What do you take it with? Yam, rice?
Yam, but mashed yam. I have a soft spot for mashed yam.
So if you didn't know how to warm your way into the heart of the EU ambassador to Ghana, you get some palava sauce with mashed yam and you're good to go. But let's get down to it. The European Union and Ghana. You celebrated EU month recently.
Correct.
It was interesting because I didn't know you were a boxer. You were sparring with...
I didn't know either. I didn't know either. It came as a surprise.
Oh, really?
No, jokes aside, I have two, I would say not well known, but two hobbies here in Ghana.
Okay.
One is boxing and one is beading.
Beading?
Yes, because this country is very big on beads. And these are the things that these are the things you don't necessarily know from the outside. At least I didn't. And then when you arrive, you say, this is a big thing for the culture, for the everyday life, some symbolism, so on and so on. So yes, boxing. I've begun to box since I arrived 3 years ago, 2.5 years. And I realized that beside football, boxing was a huge sport in Ghana, a huge thing. And my coach brought me on a number of occasions at Bukom Arena to watch fights and to enjoy, just the vibes. And we thought that it would be a perfect way to connect with people, with a bunch of people who are not necessarily used to meet with a diplomatic corps, ambassadors, and we say, let's do it. Let's try to create this connection.
And would you say the connection was achieved, that nexus was created on the back of those activities?
4,000 people attended. The stadium was fully packed. There were a good 1,000 people, unfortunately, who could not make it from outside. And as we speak, we are already thinking of where to bring it further, to build on that link and to make it even more meaningful We are thinking of doing something to build on that with still the professor, Azuma Nelson. Because he has, this vibrancy, this humility as well, and he's a people's man, and it's so easy to work with him, and it's so, I would say, rewarding. So we want to carry on and move forward the adventure.
I am curious as you talk about that adventure because boxing in Ghana, I mean, it has seen better days. It's still up there, but there were days when we had champions in many different weight classes and all of that. With your affection for boxing, do you think you would want to get into a bit of promoting pugilism or boxing in Ghana? Do you think you would have any interest in?
Not my job.
I know we have a sports ministry and youth ministry, but...
Precisely, but what I can do is to, join forces with the ones who want to move it further. But for that, I mean, when it comes to policies, and this is the same answer for the upcoming questions, we are not working in Ghana. We are working with Ghana to support what are the priorities or the strategies or, the interest that the country is expressing and request us to support, if anything, if they believe we have an added value. So when it comes to overall cooperation in the sporting arena, there again, we would be happy because EU Months was been focusing on youth. So boxing was our way of entering or to illustrating our commitment to youth. I'm not so young, but if you want to be a good boxer, you have to be a bit young. So this is the rationale. But the important point is it's not the end game. On the contrary, it's the beginning of an adventure.
The beginning of an adventure. Well, I'm sure those who are watching us will be reaching out, those who are invested in boxing, and they probably say, okay, EU, come and collaborate with us.
But I was at the All-African game and you were doing quite fine, with lots of medals. Lots of medals. So I was there, you were not there. I was there.
Trust me, we were there through the cameras, but there have been definitely better days. We can do
I can imagine.
But let's even before we get into the rest of our conversation, the EU. I'm sure some Ghanaians will be curious. Yes, European Union, but what do you stand for in Ghana? As ambassador, what are your goals? How do you mean to build collaboration between Ghana and the EU?
What we stand for is very simple. We are built on a set of values and a set of principles. One of the largest one is the belief in rules-based multilateral order, basically the UN Charter, and the cooperation based on this set of values and shared interest. In Ghana, what are the shared interests? Shared interest is accelerating and supporting what we can call overall development, but basically I prefer to call it prosperity, because it is in our interest in Europe as well to have partners such as Ghana or the rest of the African continent reaching that prosperity, because when you think of it, it's a no-brainer. It makes a larger market, larger partner, more stable, more, I don't want to use the word reliable, but a set of partners who are meeting eye to eye on the set of principles. So this is the reason why in Ghana we are focusing our partnership on, first and foremost, job creation. This is priority number one. And this is a no-brainer because every year there are 400,000 youth which are entering the job market in Ghana. The second priority, there again, it's a priority which has been identified by the Ghanaian authority. It's not me, I didn't wake up one morning and say, let's do that. Second priority is what we call smart and sustainable cities. Because you know the rate of urbanization, you know the challenges linked to the way people are served or can access to basic services, including, you know, public transportation, public lights, access to water, sanitation. It's a global challenge. And the third area...
Some of those falling under the SDGs.
Yes, yes, of course. But jobs as well, you know, it's very intricate. And the third priority or the third pillar of activities is linked to what we call governance and security. And there again, it's very much linked to the regional context and to, you know, support Ghanaian national strategy in terms of security, stability, prevention of potential instability linked to the region dynamics, so on and so forth. So I would say these are the main priority areas, and we have some flagship interventions, which are, I would say, illustrating the level of ambition of the partnership. You know, we are not in the business of giving handouts. Okay, I don't come to a place and say, okay, we have revamped half of a school and we are selling ourselves everywhere. No, this is not about that. We have what we call the global gateway.
The global gateway strategy.
Yes, which is somewhat difficult to explain in abstracto, I would say, but the beauty with Ghana is we can illustrate with concrete cases.
Okay, so walk us through.
So the concrete cases, we have 3 very good stories, success stories. One for which we went on your platform together with my German and my Spanish colleagues, which is the building. So I'm not speaking about a project that is coming or the putting of the first stone. It's the full commissioning of a very large solar power station in Kaleo, in the Upper West region, which is up and running and which is serving 50,000.
50,000?
Yes, 50,000 people. It's linked to the national grid, and the beauty of it, it's not only increasing the national, you know, output, but on top of that, it's sustainable. There is no emission, and it spares the equivalent of tens of thousands of the usage of car, for example, to make a comparison. So this is.
Do you know its capacity?
I forgot. I have to.
But it's serving about 50,000 people.
It serves the needs of 50,000 households.
Wow.
Not individual households.
So you can multiply that by a factor of what?
Yes,
2,
5,
3, 4,
6,
5,
yes.
and that would give you what?
So
250,000?
So it's a huge thing. And this is what we call the transformational effect of Global Gateway, because we are not speaking only about energy, we are speaking about people whose potential is unlocked because now they have energy, and you know economy is based on energy transformation. The second very big story that we have still in Upper West is the commissioning, where there again it's not the first layer on commissioning of 670 kilometers of feeder road in Upper West as well, which connects farmers to local markets so they can sell their product, because otherwise their product is just going to waste. And this, for that matter, has a transformational effect. And the last one, which is, in my view, the even more ambitious, because it can make structural changes and, you know, give a big push for Ghana to enter into the 21st century, is the production of vaccines here in Ghana that is made possible thanks to the support of the European Union and to a certain extent the German cooperation.
GIZ. Was it GIZ?
GIZ is the implementing partner, but the German friends.
Okay.
But basically, it's it is about not only setting up the conditions, but setting up factories and establishing partnerships to, ensure what we call the fill and finish of vaccines here in Ghana, to serve not only Ghana, but the region, the continent, and elsewhere, because vaccines are meant to circulate. So this is the three, I would say, great illustration of global gateway in the making in Ghana. So this is quite a rewarding time.
Well, I see. These are mega projects. I mean, the solar project, first of all, 670 kilometers of feeder roads. And of course, we all know that post-harvest losses are is one of the major factors that cause farmers to lose out in terms of their farm produce.
And the country. And the country, of course, and the exports, etc., you name it.
And then vaccine production. I'm curious, though, of these three that you've mentioned, what have been the stories? I'm sure you've executed these projects and everything, but what have been the stories from especially the beneficiary communities up north? What are some of the things you've heard the people say, or which have come to your desk that, oh, the people are so grateful that this happened? What are some of the stories?
No, the stories are many. Ordinary people saying, okay, thanks to the power station, we can do A, B, C, D. We can link schools or small health facilities to electricity, which is totally changing the potential in terms of education, in terms of health and sanitation. But of course, as well, we have many testimonies of people who are running, micro enterprises where they need just access to electricity to run mills, or to sew or things like that. So the testimony are numerous. I think in Upper West, linked to the feeder roads, there are even more people that I've met. I have met firsthand associations of women who are harvesting some product, and they tell me, last year we have lost so-and-so, and this year we will be able to sell this. And with the product, with the revenues that they are generating, they are already investing in new crops. So there again, there are real good stories, personal stories. So it's life-changing.
Life-changing. Very interesting. Thank you for sharing. But from there, let's segue into security-related matters. And of course, wherever you look across the continent of Africa, especially post-COVID-19, there have been security-related issues, developments, even following the Jasmine Revolution in Tunisia and everything in between. But currently, the southern belt of Africa has its own issues. East Africa, Kenya has had its own issues. When it comes to the West African region as well, there's been quite a bit of turbulence and military escapades into, governance. We can point to Mali, Burkina Faso, Guinea, Niger, and all of these. When you look at the security landscape in the West African sub-region, what do you see?
What do I see?
What do you see?
No, I see challenges in the region, and this is the reason why we are working together hand in hand with Ghana, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, in order to ensure that the fragilities or the vulnerabilities inside and outside those countries are not played out in order to prevent potential, spillover in terms of insecurity. And in Ghana, for example, as you know, we have late last year handed over 105 militarized vehicles, precisely to reinforce the capacities of the Ghanaian armed forces to patrol the borders and to do their job in terms of prevention. So this is, I would say, a big undertaking, a first one, because this will be followed by handing over equipment, which are critical in terms of surveillance, intelligence gathering, communication, because when you are in the west side of Ghana, you need to ascertain what's happening in the eastern side. You need communication, secure communication, reliable communication. interoperable communication. So this is the reason why we have, I would say, a regional approach to that. So this work is ongoing. Another big undertaking that is less visible is the undertaking on maritime security. Right. Because insecurity happened a lot in the Gulf of Guinea, linked to piracy, linked to robbery. And since the European member states' navies are patrolling in the region, there was a decrease by almost 90% of the incidents of piracy. And as we speak, there are permanent presence there, which is what we call common maritime presence. Of course, this is fully linked to the Ghanaian Navy, and we will help the Ghanaian Navy get revamping their vessels as well. So this is a cooperation which is fully benefiting the national apparatus. You might have seen that we have been handing over on a regular basis equipment for the Ghana Immigration Service. I will do another batch soon because they are in the front line at the borders. They have, they have to be mobile, so they need motorbikes, they have communication. They need modern IT outlets in order, like at the airport, to scan the identities of people who are going out, in, so on and so forth. So this is a large undertaking, and the key drive is to support and to reinforce the national capabilities.
Speaking of those national capabilities, I just want to draw you back, and fantastic work you're doing on the maritime front and all of that. We have a boundary commission that focuses on land, and of course, when it comes to
at sea as well.
Yes, but they are pretty limited. I've had interactions with them when it comes to sea, and that is where you come in with this support. And of course, I have followed with keen interest how piracy activities in our maritime waters and beyond have decreased. Even there was a time where Somali piracy became a thing leading into our waters.
Exactly.
But that has diminished. I've followed those stories. But I'd like to find out in ECOWAS, because it's not just Ghana. Ghana's security feeds into other countries' security, and theirs feeds into ours. 3 of those countries I mentioned earlier, which have fallen to coup d'etats, are opting out of ECOWAS. They are in the process of, they have reiterated very recently their call to opt out of ECOWAS. You know the dynamics in there. And then you look at some of these countries, and there's a case of regime security versus the reality of human security. Are these areas that you're contemplating? Are these areas that you collaborate with our government on in terms of that security? Because, of course, like we saw in Kenya, if the human security is lagging, regime security will not save the situation. So what's your approach to that? What's your thinking?
No, once again, we approach the regional security where where the remit is, and the remit is ECOWAS. So we are supporting heavily ECOWAS as an institution. The mandate of ECOWAS is huge. Agriculture, transportation, infrastructure, regional security, peace and security, so on and so forth. So our, I would say, baseline is to support politically, financially, ECOWAS if needed. But the work that we are undertaking with the Ghanaian authorities, once again, is fitting the national priorities. If the national priorities is dictating cooperation, working with any given countries in the region, that's good. We are supporting the national strategy. You have a national security strategy of 2020. I think this was one of the first documents I've read when I arrived.
I see.
Which is in the, I would say, process of being updated. We are supporting this update, not in terms of content, but in terms of helping for the reach out, etc. But, this is our rationale. The rationale is, what do you believe is the priority you need to address and to follow? do we have a joint interest in pursuing that? Yes, of course, we have a joint interest in making Ghana still a secure, safe country, the same for Côte d'Ivoire, for Togo, for Benin. So we have a shared interest in working in those areas.
Well, a shared interest, of course, in peace and security, which brings me to my next question in terms of the human security angle. Jobs, youth unemployment. I'm sure you're familiar with the statistics. Recently, the Ghana Statistical Service came through with further details or further data on multidimensional poverty, people who are poor in terms of education, who are poor in terms of work, they don't have work, who are poor in terms of finances. Obviously, if you don't have an education, you don't have work, you will likely not have much money. Who are poor in terms of health, because you will need some money to get proper health, and it goes on and on. The unemployment rates have gone pretty high, pretty much doubled since 2016, 2017, thereabouts. What has the European Union in Ghana done in terms of these areas? How concerned are you, first of all, and what have you done in this respect?
No, seeing the degradation of the statistics is an issue of concern, and beyond the statistic, it's about the lives of real people. So I think it's an important undertaking, and as I said, one of the key priority, this is the reason why one of the key priority is still and mostly will be support for job creation. But you can do that much, because one of our flagship projects that we had before we just finished, which is, we call it the Green Project, has created tens of thousands of jobs, which is great. But the challenge ahead of us, because I put ourselves, I would say, in this joint undertaking, as I've mentioned, there are 400,000 youths who are entering the job market everywhere. So it's not only the European Union, there are other partners which are supporting and which are, I would say, fitting into national strategies. We are supporting young entrepreneurs. We are supporting the socio-economic inclusion of women. We have done great.
I see. I'm particularly interested in anything supporting women, so let's focus a bit on that.
We have done great in agriculture, in small entrepreneurship.
Where indeed you will find a lot of women.
In the shea butter industry, which can absorb a large range of women, because this is a sector which is largely women-driven. But it's not just to give you something to pick up the nuts. You have to transform that, you have to package them, and the European Union, being the European, we are eager to have you sell your product in the European market, which is not an easy thing to do, because there are, I would say, strict regulation when it comes to a product you put on your skin or you eat, etc. And there we have specific programs to help, and it was quite successful, a large range of small entrepreneurs in the cosmetic industries to make it to the European market. So these are, I would say, good stories. But as I said, compared to the magnitude of the challenge, this is something which demonstrates it works, but needs as well, a conducive environment. We all know the economic crisis is taking a toll, not only in Ghana, and this is one of the key, I would say, achievements which have to be salvaged and pushed forward. And the economy, fortunately, is bouncing back, and this is a reason for optimism and hopefully to accelerate once again, job creation.
You got me smiling when you said the economy was bouncing back. Maybe later we'll have a conversation on that. Some optimism is good, of course. But just on the point you made about shea nuts and the shea butter and all of that, I know farmers personally in that. I also know I have friends who are into cosmetics, who go up north, purchase and all that. you would realize that there are lots of women up north involved in this, but the process is so rudimentary. It is still very basic.
I've tried myself with the hands. You have to...
Very basic. And if they could just get some more mechanization to the process, it would be more rapid, it would be more humane, they could earn more. Since you've noticed that already.
But this is precisely what we are doing. This is precisely what we are doing. What we are doing is to roll out everything possible to support industrialization. Industrialization can come in the form of, these simple machines which are helping or avoiding you the hassle of doing this type of thing yourself. We are supporting cooperatives of women. Some of the cooperatives of North are covering 1,500 women.
True.
Not everyone will have the machine. They give the machine to the cooperative, everyone can bring the nuts.
And use the machine.
And use the machine. So this is something which was very successful and on which we believe it is relevant to build and to, I would say, duplicate, scale up. And not everyone is at the same level. You know, I've seen in the same day in Tamale, a woman is pressing one soap at a time, Neighboring a woman who is pressing 6 soaps at a time. And then, as I said, meeting an association of cooperative with a much larger, I would say, processing power. And of course, the beauty of the project is to try to put everyone together to bring them at the same level of production and output.
I see. Let's look at culture now and maybe language. I mean, you would look at Africa and in some countries, depending on whether they are Anglophone, Francophone, Lusophone, and others, you would find the BBC more prominent in certain places. RFI, you would find l'Alliance Française, you would find Goethe Institute, among others. And it's because of soft power and what it can do in the minds of people. Hollywood is big because it's also a form of soft power. How do you feel that has been developed in Ghana per our culture? And what more do you think could be done in that regard? I mean, European culture in Africa, yes, but Ghanaian culture, what can be made of it in terms of soft power?
I mean, you have a great film industry, film schools. You have a great film platform that we are supporting on a regular basis.
Okay. So there's NAFTI, there's...
Yes. And, the Black Star Film Festival and so on, so which is a huge event. And what is important, it's not to keep it in Ghana, it's to showcase it elsewhere, like European cultural product can be showcased here, Ghanaian cultural products are showcased elsewhere. So, for example, we have supported some filmmakers to make it even to the Cannes Festival or to other worldwide festival. So yes, this is an area where we pay a lot of attention, especially as you've mentioned. This is a country which has great, I would say, homegrown product when it comes to music, movies, weaving, so on and so forth. So this is not a difficult one to do. And this is something which is, I would say, for us is a no-brainer, because we believe in intercultural dialogue. This is the reason why we are organizing now and again what we call fusion of artists between Ghanaian artists, artists coming from Togo, Benin, elsewhere in the region, Europeans, to do joint productions, so on and so forth. So yes, this is something not only we believe in, but where we are putting our money where our mouth is.
You're putting your money where your mouth is. Yes. It's not just talk, you're walking the talk.
No.
All right. That's definitely a good thing. But having said that, this comes to mind. There are those who say, yes, you're putting your money where your mouth is, but it's because of interest, your interest. I mean, there always is interest. But how much interest is too much interest? And I'll give you a typical example. I hosted the last Ghana Statistical Service Multidimensional Poverty Index, which I was just talking to you about. And some people there, researchers, shared, for example, oh, I wanted to research on maybe oranges to boost Ghanaian production and cultivate varieties that are more sturdy and can survive in Ghana. But I don't have research sponsorship. But guess what? The EU or some outfit in the US wants to sponsor me, but they want me to do something else. For example, they want me to research into okra or cocoa, because it is, you know how much chocolate the European Union consumes, a lot of which comes from
this is private
Ghana,
research.
Cote d'Ivoire and all of that.
This is private research.
Well,
so
it is in the national interest. But some would say...
No, but it's market-driven. It's market-driven.
Yeah. You could say that. But the question then is, with all of these things that are being done, how much of general interest is in there? How much of... I'm trying to look for the right word. Narrow interests are in there. For those who will say...
But in which field? Because now I'm lost. You are speaking of okra and orange.
Agriculture was just
and
an
movies.
Example.
So you are putting apples and pears literally together.
No.
So I mean, what is the question?
Agriculture was just an example. Some would say the work of the European Union in Africa is in European interests solely. Would that be a correct statement? And if not...
Solely, no. We are working as well like everyone. Ghana is working in Europe for Ghanaian interests. Sorry to tell.
No,
it's a huge... I know it's a huge scoop. I know it's a huge scoop. But if you are sending a Ghanaian ambassador to Brussels, it's to defend the Ghanaian interest. But there is another scoop for you.
Okay.
Can you
listen? The first one wasn't. I wouldn't say it was a scoop, but
this is another groundbreaking scoop.
Tell me about it.
I hope you are well seated. There is a broad range of what we call shared interest.
Okay.
Okay. The more you meet the requirements on selling cocoa to Europe, the more cocoa you will sell to Europe. This is playing in Ghana's interest. And the more cocoa we will be able to transform into chocolate. This is in the interest of the customers. Look at that. Ha! Look at that.
I like the way you went. Of course, Europe has an almost insatiable appetite for chocolate.
And
where would you get it from? Here.
I'm precisely taking this example because there were these total stupid stories that the European Union wants to ban cocoa, Ghanaian cocoa. First and foremost, Ghana is not the only cocoa country in the world.
Right.
You have your neighbors on the west side. You have the cocoa producers in Latin America, so on and so forth. But can you fathom that? Europe is the first market of Ghanaian cocoa. Why on earth would we close it? I mean, people are craving for chocolate. I mean, I'm not that much myself into chocolate, but people are into chocolate. This is fact of life. Why would you shoot ourselves in the foot and say, no more chocolate from Ghana?
But the reality too is that on the back of Galamsey activities.
Yes, but this is not the story. The story is, this is precisely what we call a shared interest. You sell more cocoa of better quality, we buy more, and we have chocolate. And these examples, not only linked to trade, because interests are not narrow, based on money. As I said, security is a shared interest. I don't think anyone will be happy to see Ghana stumbling down. Not in Europe, not in Ghana. So our shared interest is to ensure the stability or support the national authority to ensure the stability of the country. And examples like that are many, many, many. And thinking of it, I'm trying to, on an honest basis, try to find something that we are doing purely on European interest. Maybe we'll need to have a new program to find that, but I don't see examples of things that we are doing solely in our interest. Solely in our interest.
I mean, that question was just so...
No,
I mean, there are some
it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one.
Who definitely pose these questions or reflect on these matters.
And I hope I have answered their question.
Hopefully.
And I'm happy to take follow-up questions on that next time we meet.
How concerned are you, though, about the dips in cocoa production in Ghana? I mean, we've spoken about this before, but you know that Ghana's production has dipped by quite a bit in recent times.
I have the same concerns as the Ghanaian players for many reasons. First reason, back to another interest, which is a shared interest. Less cocoa means less revenue. Less revenue means more poverty. Poverty in Africa is not playing in our interest. We are neighbors. We are neighbors. Poverty of your neighbors is not playing in your interest. I don't want you to live in a neighborhood where you are the rich man amongst poor people. Second area of concern is less cocoa production means scarcity of the product. Scarcity of the product, I'm not a big economist, but prices are picking up. So we have the same concerns. And of course, you've mentioned the galamsey. It seems that on top of climate change, on top of diseases that have affected a large number of plantation, galamsey, it's taking the toll as well on, use of land. And, there is a competition in the use of land, whether you cultivate, whether you have cattle, whether you dig holes to find gold.
It's interesting the way you just put it, wherever you dig a hole to find gold. Huh? Yeah. I see. As we wind down on the conversation, just a few lighter bits I want us to take a look at. What are some of the challenges you have faced in your work in Ghana? And I know you do tour the sub-region a bit. What are some of the challenges you have encountered in Ghana and externally that you think the European Union could be more collaborative on? And what are some of the challenges that we ourselves in West Africa should be tackling?
One of the challenges that really strikes me is, I would say, the state of interconnectivity between the countries. Because we, for sure, the European Union, we have funded on many occasions the famous, what we call strategic corridor from Mauritania to Lagos. From Mauritania to Lagos. I'm not speaking about Aflao only. And fact of life is the corridor is not that effective, especially when we enter the Gulf of Guinea. So this is something which strikes me, and this is for me a key challenge because, connectivity dictates the competitiveness. We have, as the European, at least 3 of our member states, invested a lot in the Tema port. You might have visited that. To the extent that Tema is one of, if not the most efficient port in Africa, at least to manage the containers. Okay? And this makes sense if the rest of the connectivity comes to place. But it means that it is possible, and secondly, that there is still more work to be done. And then we are happy to join hands to it's not the European Union which will be able to address that alone. It's a matter of, joining hands with multiple partners and with governance, which is, I would say, creating the conducive environment for that.
All right. As we wrap off, are you a fan of football?
I should not say that because, you know, the second religion in this country is football. But I have to say, really, some of my colleagues are desperate because we are saying names of players. I don't even know if they are, you know, French or Italian or Argentinian or whatever. Maybe Ghanaians. Mm. I know the player Mohamed Kudus. Mohamed Kudus. No, I'm not so good. I should not say this type of things on because people will be really disappointed in me. But I cannot fake it because if you are asking me question on football, ask me your question.
No, you have to be real. I mean, the Copa America is going on. Argentina, I believe, is marching to the finals. Not that I'm so happy about that.
Which one?
Argentina.
I thought it was the Euro.
The finals.
Argentina.
I was going to talk about the Copa America is taking place. Euro 2024 is taking place. I was actually going to ask you about whether you felt any of the teams. Yesterday, Spain dumped England. And I know Spain.
You are almost as bad as me
Spain.
Because you are almost as bad as me.
England will be playing, I think, the Netherlands.
Okay.
And Spain kicked out. Which France? Yes. Mbappe.
This I know. Well,
that you know.
Okay,
so that you know. And I was going to ask you. Wait, you're Malagasy?
Yeah, as well. Yes.
Okay, as well. So in Europe, which country do you?
I'm from France, yes.
Okay, so...
Yeah, yesterday was not a good day for French football. It was not a good day for French football, yes.
So are you, like we'll say in Ghana, are you bleeding? Do you know what that means when
I can imagine. You know, I'm doing boxing, so I can imagine. But... yes, it's fact of life, and I'm not sure the team was playing at its best. It wasn't.
I mean, Mbappe had not scored, I think, throughout the tournament, and then he got the knock and everything. But well,
I think it was a fair outcome. It was a fair outcome.
Okay.
You have to put fairness where fairness is due.
Yeah, we'll see what Les Bleus will do come the next tournament. But to cap it off, before I take your final words. Ghana is at the door of another election. Mm-hmm. This is a crucial election, and the stakes are high. What is the EU doing to ensure, especially in light of all the turbulence in the sub-region, to ensure not just peace, but also free, fair, transparent elections? I know you have your observer unions and your observer groups and all that, but what can we expect from the European Union as far as our elections are concerned?
I would say with the same rationale and same logics as the rest of the interventions that we have here, we are supporting the national institutions vested in the organization, follow up, maybe even the settlement of the elections. So in clear, we are working together with the Electoral Commission and other bodies which are very important.
The NCCE?
NCCE, National Commission for Civic Education, for awareness raising, prevention of violence linked to post-electoral violence, a National Peace Committee. And this time around, I think this is very important to share it because, you know, there is a well-established, I would say, tradition and practice of democracy over the last 30 years. We will not display a large observation mission, but we will display what we call experts. But instead of that, we will support, meaning funding, national observers, because we are of the belief that it is important that the national apparatus and the national institution are equipped and reinforced to do what they are supposed to do, and not that it comes from outside. So this is the very idea. We are working together with other partners and with the government and these bodies in order to make sure, at least to support them in the implementation of their mandate.
So here we are, the conclusion of this discussion. Over to you, Your Excellency. Final words?
Final words, I think We have had a very in-depth conversation that we can dig even more next time. Mm-hmm. But it illustrates the fact that the European Union is here to stay. We invest in the future of Ghana. We believe in Ghana. We believe in the future of Ghana. Mm-hmm. And this is, once again, the reason why we are so committed on youth, job creation, stability, transparency, sustainability. So every stream of our commitment, you can open all the drawers. I'm pretty sure you will find, I would say, a great deal of shared commitment, shared interests. So thank you very much for the program.
Thank you too.